Hello, fellow brothers and sisters. This is Sabata here with the Equatoria Advocacy Foundation. Today, I would like to share with you some theories in governance, and with the hope that once you understand these simple theories, that will help you understand exactly where the nature of governance in South Sudan is coming from. Uh, I would like to begin by just talking generally what political science teaches with respect to art of social organization, that is organizing people from a social and also economic aspect. But well, you don't organize people under a banner of having them interact economically. We always in political science, people are organized from a socio-cultural aspect, and then the economy, that is the interaction of the people with each other, is pretty much just regulated, you see. And the art of doing that is politics. All right. So in political science, when societies are organized, those who put together what is called governance pretty much look at the nature of the society first. Is the society a heterogeneous society, or is it a homogeneous society? Now, a homogeneous society is simply uh, individuals who have come together and they share common characteristics with respect to language, cultural values, and whatnot. But then when you talk about a heterogeneous society, you are basically talking of a society that looks pretty much like South Sudan in its nature of social association. Now, I've decided just to Google very quickly what a homogeneous society is, and I will read it. I don't know if you can see it very well. A homogeneous society is such a society where most of the people share the same type of cultures, values, language, ethnicity, and religious system. And heterogeneous society is simply the opposite of that. And the importance of actually looking at the nature of the society will help the organizers of what is called governance to decide with how to set up administration or set up governance amongst these people. Now, it is always believed that it's easier setting up governance around a homogeneous society than a heterogeneous society, because in a homogeneous society there are no diverse interests. Okay, the people are pretty much sharing common characteristics. Either they are all bound under religious principles, just like, for example, in Islamic states or under Islamic states or Islamic nations, people are bounded together. It is principles of religion that bound them. Okay, so they share common characteristics with respect to religious principles, and that actually makes it easier for the state to administer them, because they share common characteristics with respect to religious principles. All right. And for example, traditionally organized societies like those of the African people, for example, they are bound under what is called cultural values. All right. And those are actually nations, but for some reasons records have described them as tribes. But the fact that they are bound under social cultural values, it makes it easier to govern a particular tribe. For example, let me just say, for example, if Nath Nuer or Nuer nation was to be a country in its own, it will not be very hard to govern them because they are culturally bound and they share so much with respect to traditional beliefs. Okay, a chiefdom can govern them, all right, or a local leader can govern them, and that explains actually why the African tribes were pretty much governed under local leaders before colonial times. And it is for this reason that most governments have interest in basically creating what is called common characteristics amongst nations. For example, when you are living in a country under a state that has developed its constitution to be pretty much more of a Sharia or Islamic constitution, for example, the interest is basically to create an identity of people who are bound by religious principles, okay? And it makes it easier for the state to govern such kind of people. Or suppose you are going to have what is called a nation that is going to have people who are bound under Christianity principles, for example, it will be easier for a state, that is the government of those people, to govern those people when they are already bound under common principles. And that is why governments always try their best to create what is called common characteristics amongst people. Now, the Western countries, like the United States of America, some of the European countries, are successful in creating common characteristics with respect to ideology. Here in the United States of America, there is what is called the American values. Americans are bound under what is called American values. And in the American values, they give what is called liberty. That is, you live the way you want to live. Whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Muslim, you're all that. But I will get to those kind of explanations later because they fall under what is called a heterogeneous society. But right now I'm still going through what is called a homogeneous society. It is very easy to organize people when they share common characteristics because most likely they will be sharing also pretty much a similar economic activity. Like for example, again, in a homogeneous society, let us talk about the Dinka, for example, or the Nuer, for example, or let me say the Bari or the Zande, okay? These are nations, and these nations are homogeneous. They share cultural values, as I've read the hold on, just give me a second. As I've read the definition of a homogeneous society earlier. So when you look at the Nuer, for example, they are all cattle herders. When you look at the Dinka, they are cattle herders. When you look at the Bari, they are cattle herders, and there is a section that are also agriculturalists. And then when you look at the Zande, they also practice a particular type of economic activity. So if you are to govern such kind of a nation, it will not be very complicated, unlike if you are governing a heterogeneous society. So it is for that reason that people would or authorities would like to kind of create an identity, a common identity amongst people. And once you are successful in creating that kind of a common identity, it harbors what is called a form of governance that's called oligarchy. Okay, an oligarch are group of people, elites, and usually these elites would come together and just govern the people who are basically sharing common characteristics or bound together by religious principles or by cultural values. Like just like, for example, if when you look at what's called the Islamic nations, usually some few religious leaders come together and pretty much run the state. Okay, and when you look at the African traditional societies, sometimes back what is called tribes, usually it's just the chief and some council members here and there that come together. It doesn't necessitate a very huge scale of military or police to administer the people, because the people are self-disciplined under certain cultural values that they believe, you see. Now, unlike what is called a heterogeneous society, when we come to heterogeneous society, this is very complicated, because this is characterized by people who are really having very diverse interests, all right, and they speak different languages and they have different cultural values. And South Sudan is just an example. When you look at the society in South Sudan is a heterogeneous society. Now, in order to govern such kind of a society successfully, by theory, you need a properly set republic, that is land of laws, all right, institutions that are properly designed, all right, with systems, okay, of adjudicating justice, you see, systems of enforcing the laws, like the police, properly trained police, all right. And I'm not gonna bring the armies, because armies are usually used under rare cases, but the police to manage the people, okay, because the people are allowed to, you know, this is what is called a heterogeneous society. People live with different cultural values and beliefs and all that, all right. And above all, you need a properly or functional legislation, all right, a legislation that will have the ability to sit down and look at what is called the universal principles that have been declared, all right. These universal principles that have been declared pretty much is, these are standards of principle. These are principles that are pretty much governing the nature of human beings, you know. So that when this legislative body sits down to produce laws, they look at those principles, and as they produce those laws fall within the realm of those principles. They don't overstep those principles, okay. And then you have a properly set police system that will eventually enforce this, and enforce it through a properly set judiciary system. And in this way, you are creating what is called a very, very well-established republic in order to manage a heterogeneous society, all right. In the event the group of people who are trying to govern do not know how to establish a properly set republic, then what is going to happen is this group of people will try to either force the people, or try to kind of develop a common identity of the people, but then they will be struggling because the people themselves are socially organized or rooted in certain social groups that make them distinct from each other. So eventually the governing aspect of organizing the society might end up becoming more of a dictatorial one, you see. And it will be at that point that sometimes governance will start to fall apart. And if the organizers of what is called government are not careful in this aspect, then the state will fail. Basically, the state will fail. And when the state fails, that means the state will fail to put these people under governance. All right? Just like what is happening in South Sudan. South Sudan basically is a failed state. South Sudan is a failed state, but I think it is for some political reasons here and there that the international community does not want to declare it a failed state. Because once it's declared a failed state, an action will be expected from especially those who have actually helped the country to secede and made it independent. You see, those people will eventually have the responsibility to cater for the affairs of the people within that failed state, because the people cannot be left without governance. It is impossible. And I'm kind of realizing that a lot of South Sudanese really want to believe or think that the people by themselves can come together and do something for themselves without the government, even under the fact that the people are so diverse. This is impossible. Very, very impossible, you know, especially when you are having about 40 something or 60 something people assembling together and talking about the problems of South Sudan, and really believing that this is a good number, that they think they can come together and do something together. And yet the country has over 13 million people who are very diverse. What are 60 something or 70 something or even 100 and something people who are educated in the West think they are going to be doing in order to be able to unite these millions of people who are basically who are socially organized under distinct groups called tribes and all that. Pretty much an almost impossible endeavor, you know. But anyways, these are just some few things that I would like to share here and there. Maybe it may benefit somebody out there, and if it benefits you, throw a thumbs up, and please subscribe to the channel of the Equatoria Advocacy Foundation. And the Equatoria Advocacy Foundation will try to come up with some more videos here and there about theories of governance. Thank you.